light and heavy so that you can apply this. Because the idea is things that are heavy on some level are not true for you. And we're going to explore this a little bit. And also, let's apply it to a situation you've already had in your life. So think about something someone said to you at some point that kind of stuck you, all right? And it just stayed with you. I'll give you two examples. I had a friend who said to me, Kathy, are you a Scorpio? And I was like, why are you asking me this? And he said, because you're sneaky. And that kind of stayed with me for a couple of days. And then all of a sudden I asked, like, is that actually true for me? Am I sneaky? And it wasn't. So something that sticks you and kind of won't go away, you have to look at, is this true for me? Okay? Or is it true but there's a lie attached? Or is it a lie? All right, maybe it's that person's interpretation and it's not true for you. I'll give you another example. I have a friend and he met this woman and he was like, oh, I totally want to be with her for the rest of my life. And he sounded really sincere. And then when I went away from the conversation, like that's the part that really stayed with me. And I just looked at it and I was like, is that really true for him? And there was a heaviness. Okay, remember, heaviness is a lie. And so then I looked at, like, is it actually true for her? And he's buying it as true. He's so tapped into her reality. He's so tapped into, right? He's aware. He's so tapped into what's true for her that he's making that his reality too, even though it's not. And that there was a lightness to that. So find a situation, think of something in your life, maybe something someone said to you that there was a heaviness or it kind of stuck and you're like, what is that? Why is that so weird? Why is that even still here? And then, you know, the other element of this is usually whatever someone's accusing you of is what they themselves are being. So if someone's accusing me of being sneaky, on some level, that's what they're being. All right. Which is why they're projecting it out. So think of that situation that was heavy for you, right? Now what I'd like you to do is just ask, well, is that true? All right? Or is there a lie here? Okay? And acknowledge to yourself that you are aware of the lie. You're that aware. You're super aware. And you are aware that something was off. Something wasn't right about what that person was saying. Okay? Now, hey, universe, what would it take for me to be really on it, for it to be really clear to me when someone's lying? Okay? Hey, body, make it really clear to me when someone's lying. You can ask your body to show you, and it will. Okay? So if something sticks you, it's a lie. There is a lie. The entire thing may not be a lie, but there's a piece of it that's a lie. So you could ask, you know, is there a lie here? Spoken or unspoken? Maybe it's something they themselves believe. Right? A lot of times we lie to ourselves and believe it. Even when you say, like, oh, I don't know. How much do you pretend you don't know? How much do you lie to yourself that you don't know, right? And is it safer? Like, does that feel safer to say, I don't know, instead of to own your knowing? Would you be willing to acknowledge that you know? Would you be willing to allow yourself to have your awareness in totality? And if not in totality, what percentage? Would you allow yourself to have 50% of the awareness that's truly possible for you? You know, what percent would you be willing to have? And then what have you decided about awareness that prevents you from having all of it? Have you decided it's unsafe? Have you decided people wouldn't like you? Maybe as a kid you were called a know-it-all, right? You're such a know-it-all, and so you made that a bad and wrong thing instead of acknowledging, yeah, I do have a lot of knowing. So everywhere you've suppressed and repressed and hidden your awareness, even from yourself, because it was made wrong or bad, will you collapse all that back to energy and allow yourself, give yourself permission to have your awareness in totality? When you think you don't know, when you're not sure which choice to make, you can ask, what do I know that I'm pretending not to know? What do I know about this I'm pretending not to know? One of my favorite times is early morning. I did a show about the magic of waking up early, and you can find that on iTunes or under Sexy Mom Abundant Life, on SoundCloud or at iom.fm. And one of the things I love doing during that time is journaling, because your mind has not truly turned on yet. The logical thinking mind. You're still more in alpha and theta brainwave state. So there's more creativity, and there's also more room for the subconscious stuff to kind of like come out, kind of be revealed. And so that's a great time to ask yourself what you know about certain situations. And if I did choose this, what would that be like? And if I chose this, what would that be like? So a simple way of using the light and heavy tool initially, like exploring it, is whatever you're doing right now. Like I'm sitting down. If you're seated, you say, okay, truth, is my body seated right now? And you get a sense, like often for people it's in their chest, maybe sometime it's, you get a sense of like above your head. You'll get a sense of a lightness or expansion, because that's true. And then you'll say, truth, is my body lying down right now? And get a sense of the difference. And how does that impact your energy, impact your body? Like, is there a contraction in your chest, right? If I say, truth, am I seated right now? I get a sense of freedom in my body. Truth, am I standing right now? In my solar plexus, right under my rib cage, it goes, meh, no, that's not true. I'm not standing. Okay? So you can play with that. You can play with beginning to trust yourself with really simple things. And you trust your knowing. Like one of the early exercises, intuitive exercises I was exposed to was just getting a sense of like, oh, how many messages do I have on my phone, right? And is it more than 3? Is it fewer than 3? And you get a sense of one is light and one is heavy, right? Oh, how many unlistened to messages do I have on my phone? That would be a different question, right? Because you might have a bunch of messages that you've already listened to. So get clear with the questions that you ask too. As we strengthen this muscle of trusting yourself, you can play with different ways. Are you someone who hears things? Are you someone who kind of feels it, has a tactile sensation? I have a client I worked with for several years. She said, Kathy, it's like an inner lie detector, like where I have a little gauge, and that gauge, a visual thing, goes off to the right or to the left, depending on whether something's true for me. So it's like, okay, body, make it really clear when something's true for me. and when something's not. So those are a couple of ways you can start to just pay attention and ask for clarity, right? When you ask for something, the universe, the quantum entanglements of the universe actually rearrange themselves to meet your ask. So if you're saying, well, I don't know enough, the universe is like, oh, okay, cool. Right? And if you're saying, oh, well, I don't really have good intuition, the universe is like, oh, okay, cool. Right? Wish granted. If you're saying, okay, what would it take for me to know that I know? The universe is like, okay, cool, we'll help you with that too. Right? What would it take to have total clarity and ease with trusting my own knowing? The universe is also saying yes to that. So that's one of my favorite questions, is what would it take to have total clarity and ease with this? With this person, with this relationship, with this situation, whatever it is. Like, what would it take to have total clarity and ease with this? And asking for clarity brings more clarity. Asking to recognize your own knowing, your own intuition, helps you recognize it. And one of the things that also might be useful for you is to take a look at some situations in your life in which you followed your own knowing and things worked out. So at least 3, right? Okay, I'm gonna sit and write about, because writing, there's something about seeing it, right? There's something about that tactile action of writing and being able to read it again, where it's like, okay, what are 3 situations in which I followed my knowing and it all worked out? I knew to take this job. I knew to go on this trip. And it could be super simple. I knew that this was the thing to order that would make my body just so delightfully happy. It doesn't have to be big things. And then where are some times I didn't follow my knowing? I knew, but I didn't listen. And again, not to make yourself wrong, but just to recognize, hey, I knew, and I went the opposite direction. So Oprah, some time ago, had this show in which she was talking with people who, I'm not even sure what had happened, but each of them had been violated in some way, like raped or whatever. And she asked, did you know? And every single one of them knew that they should not enter that situation, right? On some level, they knew not to go there, not to be with that person alone, not to, and they did, right? So it's like, okay, cool. It's not a wrongness. It's just each choice we make to go with our knowing, to go with our intuition, or go against it, creates something. No choice is bad or wrong. They just create something. So everywhere you've made yourself wrong for not following your knowing, not going with that intuitive hit, maybe listening to someone else instead, will you collapse all your judgments about yourself and that situation back to energy? I know. It's like, and then expand out. Expand and become more spacious. What do I even mean by expand out? I mean, like, expand your awareness of your awareness. Meaning, if you're in a room, sense all 4 walls. Sense the floor and sense the ceiling. And get bigger. Okay? Because a lot of times when we make ourselves wrong, we contract. Right? And in fact, when we take on any fixed points of view, making something wrong, we contract. So expanding out helps you soften your body and helps you release all those points of view as well. So here's another reason a lot of us override our point of view. We've decided something. We have judgments about it. So let's say, we we get a sense like, oh, no, this person is lying. Then we say, no, this is a really nice person. They've always been good to me in the past. They're really nice. Here I have a judgment, and I'm using my judgment to override my awareness, right? I'm using my judgment that this is a good person. They wouldn't lie to me, to override my knowing. And they may be a good person, but they may be lying in this situation, right? So it's like one thing we can do is, okay, everything I've judged about this person, let me collapse back to energy. So let me see what's true now. There was a woman, I tell this story in some of my foundation classes. It's a story from This American Life, which is on NPR in the United States, and it's now a podcast. And the woman had had her identity stolen for years and years. So, commercial break. She had her identity stolen, and now we go to a special break. And I'll be right back with this story. We're talking about awareness and how you can trust yours more and more, and how much better that will make your life. Thanks for listening to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. We'll be right back. So I'll tell this story in just a moment. If you have questions, you can let me know. What questions do you have about awareness? Let's see. We're going to talk about maybe you decided at some point you couldn't trust you. Let's see. Yeah. It's like, Welcome back to Sexy Mom Abundant Life, everybody. This is your host, Kathy Williams, and we are having a conversation about awareness. Awareness, knowing, intuition, whatever you call it, it makes life better. Yet, sometimes we don't follow it. Sometimes we override it. So I was telling this story about a show on This American Life. And this is a true story, right? This really happened to a lady. Her identity had been stolen for like 7 years or something like that. Like again and again, she would switch banks, she would switch credit unions, she would switch credit cards, she would switch all the things, and it kept getting stolen over and over. And so finally, the people were like, listen, it's gotta be your boyfriend. Like it's just gotta be him. Oh no. He's so nice. He bails me out every time this happens. He's a great guy. It would never be him. Well, see, her judgments of him, that he's such a great guy, prevented her from seeing what was actually true. She wasn't willing to ask the question, is he the one doing this? Because if she had, she might have had an awareness that, like, actually, it might be him. It could be, right? So, it turns out she found later a check on his desk with her name forged on it. So he was the one, right? But her judgments prevented her from seeing what was actually true. So how many judgments do you have of people that are keeping you from seeing what's actually true? And you can say that when you're in a situation, when your awareness is like, don't trust this person. Okay, how many judgments do I have of this person that keeps me from seeing what's actually true? And just collapse it back to energy. And it could be that you have a judgment of a person that you think is an awareness. So you could say, okay, when you have this, I'm not sure I should trust them. Okay, is that a judgment? Oh, that's heavy. Is that an awareness? Oh, that's light. It's an awareness, right? If you have, if you say, is it an awareness and it's heavy, is it a judgment? That's light for you, then it's likely a judgment. Suzanne is asking me, how do I remind myself about asking a question when a funky feeling is already has taken over? I sometimes lose my capacity for asking an awareness at that time. Yes, that happens to a lot of us. And so sometimes that's when a friend comes in. If you have a friend who's a great question asker or someone who can remind you of these things, like even yesterday or 2 days ago, I messaged a friend and said, hey, I just texted her and said, hey, can you give me a question? Or can you give me a question in regard to this situation? And she will. And I'm so happy to do the same back for her. It's like sometimes when we're already enmeshed in it, it can be that we're like, you could even ask, well, what question can I ask here? Or what is this? Right? What is this energy? I did a really fun YouTube video the other day, and I've gotten some great comments on that video about, I think it was titled, how to change a funky energy or something about a yucky energy. So I texted this person and I got a yucky energy, like right away. It was like, ugh. And I went into the wrongness of me. I went, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And the only thing I had said was, sounds good, or I hope so. No, I hope so. And I got this huge funky energy. Then I was like, oh, is this even about me? And it wasn't. It was about what's going on in their world, right? So starting to ask questions, even, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? Okay, how would I change it? Right, those 4 questions. Post-it notes are awesome reminders, like, hey, let's put post-it notes of questions around. Or my phone is a huge gift too in that way. Like every once in a while, one of my favorite questions pops up, and that's how much space can I be to change this? Because again, if you don't have if you're more spacious, you have fewer points of view. If you don't have points of view, judgments in the way, attitudes, opinions, beliefs in the way, then you'll see more clearly. Because each of those judgments, opinions, beliefs are like bird poo on your glasses, keeping you from seeing what is. And if you're willing to see what is, you can make choices that work a lot better for you. So I'm going to look at my notes here. Okay. So everywhere you've decided you need better intuition, would you be willing to let go of that point of view, collapse it all back to energy, and let go of all the ways it's impacting your life? Right? How aware are you that you haven't even recognized? For me, one of the amazing tools that helps me recognize how aware I am is when I have a sensation like this funky energy from the text the other day, or even a pain in my body. It's like, oh, is this someone else's? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. We'll let them have it back. It doesn't really work for me to go in the mud pit with someone who's drowning in a mud pit. That doesn't help them out of it. So let them have it back. Return it wherever it's going to create the greatest possibilities. I'm just aware. And if it's in my reality, then how much space can I be to change this? One of my very favorite questions. Because asking that allows me to drop my beliefs, my judgments, my opinions, my points of view about both what's occurring, right? Like that yucky energy, right? Even yucky is a judgment, that it was heavy, that heavy energy, or even about myself, or even about the person that I just texted, right? How much space can I be to change this? Invites more spaciousness and clarity around the situation. All right. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, I went through a lot of this. So when you get an awareness of something, you sense something. Often then after that, we might solidify it as a feeling, or even go to, I think. Now, awareness, intuition, knowing doesn't require thinking and figuring it out. It's just a presence, a sense, some picture, some sound, some feel, some sensation you get, something. And some people may get all of those. If you'd like to have more of one or another, you can say, okay, I clear all of my commitments to not seeing. Okay? I clear all of my commitments to not having clairaudience. I clear all of my commitments to not receiving my own knowing. And collapse all of those oaths, vows, swearings, and commitments back to energy. If you prefer saying back to source energy, that's a possibility too. I clear all of those back to energy and give myself permission to perceive, to know, to receive my own awareness. So Suzanne, I hope that was helpful, and please let me know if you have more questions about that. So everywhere you've decided that doubt is more useful than choosing, wow, dancing with the doubt instead of choosing, which, here's the thing, we judge ourselves for choosing because we want to make sure we get the right choice. But right and wrong are both judgments, right? So everywhere you're trying to get the right choice, and so you're doubting that you're not going to get it right, or you're thinking you'll get it wrong. Well, you collapse all of that back to energy. When you make a choice, Right? You say, okay, yes, I'm going to do a class in Vienna this summer, and off and on it was like, okay, it's really late. Now I'm not sure what dates, and now I'm not sure if it's late. I'm choosing it. Okay, so there's a lightness. Okay, now I'm going to get the ticket, and I'm going to tap into the lightness. Right? Is this light? What will it create if I choose this? So these are two of my favorite questions. What will it create for my life in 5 years if I choose this, and if I don't choose it? Because that's another place where you can get a real sense of, oh, this one is much lighter than that one. Right? What will it create in my life in 5 years? I'm just gonna give an example. If I go on a date with this person, it's kind of yucky. Okay, cool. Not gonna go do that. What will it? Well, let me check this. What will it create in 5 years if I don't? Oh, that's much lighter. Okay, well that will be my choice. But we could even ask, okay, well, what if I went with him in 2 weeks from now? Right? So like, is now not the time? Right? It could be it's not the time. His grandma just died, or so start to ask more questions when something comes up heavy too. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, that's one of the challenges with the light heavy thing, is when something's heavy, people go to, oh, well, that's the wrong choice, instead of, okay, well, Vienna feels a little heavy at this point. What if I changed the week? Oh, well, that's lighter. Or what if I change and just do a day-long class? What if I did 2 days? What if I did 3 days? Just tapping into the energy of each of those possibilities and seeing what's light and getting curious, not having to get it right. Getting curious. What if you never had to get anything right or wrong again, because you know that right and wrong are just judgment? So anyway, before we go, and I'd love to see your comments. You can ping me. We have a YouTube video. You can post comments below it. But I would love to hear from you, and just like, what other questions do you have? Because awareness is this ever unfolding thing. And as you get more aware, you get even more aware. And so we could have another conversation about it as well. And if you would like to join me in Vienna, join me in London, join me I think I'll be in the Midwest and Colorado this summer. I will be in Colorado, or in Hawaii in May and August. Head on over to meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. Okay, and that's where all the online classes are. In-person classes are there as well. meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. And also on that site, I have a radio page, so you can see radio archives from the past several years. I've been on air, Sexy Mom Abundant Life, only for a short time now. And also the Imperfect Brilliance radio show I was on for several years. So, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to join me in one of those fun locations, I went to London last summer. It was such a blast. And that's really one of the places where following my awareness was amazing. Because initially, Alan, my host, and I were going to do it. And then someone put the same class, like in the month after me, and maybe even the month before me, and we're like, and then it still kept kind of being we said, okay, we won't do it. And then, you know how I talked earlier about when something sticks you, there's a lie there. So we had bought the lie that like, oh, well, putting a class in June would be too much, right? Too many of those in London. And so we looked at it again, and it was super light to do. And it was such a fun class. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here with me on Sexy Mom Abundant Life. I'm here every Thursday live, and in between, if you can't wait that long, head on over to iTunes, find me on Facebook, SoundCloud, and over in the archives at iom.fm and at meetkathywilliams.com. Thanks so much, everybody. May you follow your awareness.